Welcome to Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing, one of the fastest growing real estate investing podcasts in the world. What if you could learn from experienced real estate investors? Find out what got them to where they are now. Get insight into their daily habits and take these insights to inspire your own growth. Each episode, Jonathan Greene shares an in-depth look at the mindful approach to real estate investing. Jonathan is a lifelong real estate investor and the founder of Streamline, a data-driven, investor-friendly, independent real estate brokerage located in Madison, New Jersey. Whether you're looking to start from scratch, get to the next level, or just for a straightforward and honest approach to real estate investing, this is the free mentorship program you can take with you anywhere. Now, here's Jonathan.
Thanks for showing up for another episode of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. My guest today is Sumner Heeley of Land Investor Accelerator. We're going to talk about that, which is called LIA, as well as his other landinsights.co. But if you go to the show notes after the show or in the middle, you're going to find a bunch of links that can get you in there if you're interested in land. We go through Sumner's whole journey and how he fell upon land while looking for cheap houses right now.
This is episode 340 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing with my guest, Sumner Heeley. Sumner is the founder of Land Insights and Land Investor Accelerator. We're going to teach you how to build a land flipping business the right way. Sumner, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jonathan. I'm excited to be here, man.
Yep, we're 12 hours apart, so I know it's early. We'll try to wake you up, get you ready for this. But the one thing that I know from talking to so many people in land is the price to entry is very accessible. But I don't think that's how you got into it. You were surfing for houses in an area, and then that turned you into land, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Well,
tell that story because I think it was really interesting when I read it.
Yeah, I'll try to give you the abridged version because it could go. I could talk about it for an hour because there's so many ups and downs, man. But what I will say to kind of hit on the land thing that you mentioned before, land is an interesting model because it is to some level almost infinitely scalable or infinitely downscalable. That's the thing. You can do $100 deals. I've already bought land for $1. Yeah. And you can do $1 million deals. And we've done both. So it kind of it's a full spectrum, which I think a lot of other real estate asset classes don't really have that same ability to ratchet up and down.
You're not pulling off a 10 unit for $1.
Right. Unless you're very lucky, maybe deals do exist. Who knows? And in terms of the origin story, it was 2019. I had just finished up a very strange 1-year internship, essentially working for Raytheon. So I worked for a contractor that worked for Raytheon, and we were placing software engineers for the CIA. Hopefully I don't get in trouble. Hopefully I don't get in trouble for saying that.
Yeah, right. Maybe this part will just be erased when it comes out, and we won't know.
I know. I was the sole recruiter for the company, and that was my first real hardcore sales experience, just cold calling people all day long.
Yeah.
Did that for a year. I was in Virginia. I packed my bags and moved back to California, which is where I'm originally from. And I'd always been an entrepreneur. It was in my DNA. It's the whole selling candy on the schoolyard thing, yada, yada, yada. Grew up, didn't have a lot of money. That whole classic story. And for some reason, I just had an inkling that I needed to get into real estate. I don't know why.
You didn't read a book or something? It just kind of popped up one day?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like this domino effect that started a long time ago. I read the whole Rich Dad, Poor Dad thing in high school. That kind of turned a light bulb on. And I would oddly intermittently listen to Bigger Pockets, one episode a year, no rhyme or reason as to why. And so I think it was just always kind of percolating in the background. But when I moved back, I was all right, this is the time to give it a go. And so do you know where Ramona, California, that area is?
Ramona? No.
Yeah, it's northern San Diego County. So I was
okay. My sister lives in Carlsbad, so I know San Diego around there as well.
General area. And I was a little more inland, but I was in northern San Diego County, and that's where I moved back to. I was living with 5 roommates in a small little house, and I just started door knocking. I wasn't pulling data. There was really no strategy to it. I just was driving around looking for ugly houses, and I would door knock. And then if no one picked up, Hint, pretty much no one answers the door to a stranger door knock unless
Yeah.
we do a ton of volume. And then I would drop off these handwritten letters. And my girlfriend at the time helped me write them because my handwriting was like a
Yeah. I
doctor.
would need that. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
not
Yeah.
good. And I kind of played into it. I was like, my fiance and I wasn't engaged at the time. We're looking to buy a house, yada, yada. And so I did that for a few months and I got goose egg, nothing. I had one person answer the door and they just berated me. I got no callbacks for my letters. I started doing it at the beginning of 2019. And so by the summer of that year, I was like, you know what? I'm obviously like super ignorant. I got to go look and see how other people are doing this. And I got into the world of polling data lists and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I found a tax delinquent list online that was in Elko County, Nevada. And some of that, I don't know if you've ever pulled lists from the county. Like sometimes it's a CSV that you can download. Sometimes they're like, hey, we're going to mail you a CD. Like it ranges
it can come in any shape.
Yes. Yeah. And some of them make you pay for it. But Elko County made it easy. It was just right there. I downloaded the CSV. I had listened to one show previously that year on Bigger Pockets with a guy named Jack Bosch who was talking about land. So
I've had him on the show.
Yeah, it was kind of bouncing around in the back of my head, but my intention was not to go solely after land at this point.
Yeah.
But I don't know if you know much about Elko County, Nevada.
You would be shocked. You're going to be shocked because when I read that, I was like, I hope he says Elko. So my director of brokerage operations and one of my best friends who's been running the back end of my on-market brokerage for 10 years lives in Elko.
No way.
Yeah, it's crazy. When I saw that, I was like, she's going to crack up at this.
One of like 1,000 people, man. That's
why I was going to say to you, when you're mailing Elko for houses, you're going to get land. Anyone knows what's actually out there. That's what's out there.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, dude, I don't even know if I mapped it. I don't even know if I looked at like a Google map of it or anything like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, going through that list, you quickly realize, oh my God, it's all just land. And so I started just writing handwritten letters. Same thing. My girlfriend helped me. We only sent out, it must have been less than 100 letters. It was not a massive batch, but they were all handwritten. They were nice. And I got my first call back November of 2019. Just driving up to Northern California for Thanksgiving. I got a call in the car. That was like my first positive response from any of the marketing that I've done. I don't know if you remember like the first kind of traction you got with a deal. Like I remember it vividly. Like it was, I can still feel like my palms sweating in the car. It was just like a whole thing. It's
almost like, is this a mistake? Like, especially because you were trying in San Diego. It's not like this was your first batch and someone called. You would have just been like, oh, this shit works. You know, dude, it's you thought it was never going to work at that point.
Yeah. And I'm 24 years old. I feel so inadequate. I didn't even know what an APN was. I didn't even know how to map these properties.
Yeah.
Anyways, the long and short of it, the deal doesn't pan out. It was a 5-acre in Elko County, but that got my foot in the door. And I was like, okay, there's something here with land. I don't know what my obsession was with Nevada. I went south. I went to, do you know Pahrump County? Nye County. Nye County with a little town called Pahrump. Very weird place. To give you the long and short of it, in the, I think, 60s and 70s, there was like a subdividing land boom out here. And it's just west of Las Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
And what these guys would do is they would go to the strip, they would pull people off the street, bring them into like a timeshare room and hard pitch them on selling a piece of land.
Yeah.
So like, you're a tourist on vacation in Vegas and you buy a 5-acre in Pahrump. And what was pretty wild is those properties were selling in the 60s, 70s, 80s for, I'd say on the low end, 20 grand all the way up to $40,000.
Yeah.
And we were picking them up for $1,000. Like these people really bought, they bought a lemon and they never pulled utilities to them. A lot of them had platted roads, but no real roads built. It was just like a whole situation. So I sent some letters there. It was a little over 1,000 letters. I actually used a mail house this time. So I wisened up and got my first deal.
You weren't going to get to marriage that way if you had to write 1,000 letters. Yeah.
That's right. Well, you know what? Me and that gal are no longer together.
Yeah. So there was.
Maybe it was the handwritten letters killed it. But yeah, I got a call January 2020, and it was a husband and wife. They lived in the Bay Area. They wanted to move to the Philippines. They had this rinky dink, I think it was a 1/2-acre property. I bought it for $1,027, an odd number. And I turned around and sold on Facebook Marketplace 2 weeks later, $2,500, which was life changing at the time. Huge proof of concept moment too.
And
I sold.
it's the best because people are thinking like, oh, it's just $1,793. No, it's more than doubling your money in 2 weeks. That's the way that I think. Is that what you thought? Like, holy shit. Yeah.
From a percentage standpoint,
Right.
like the return is just monstrous. And then also from like a workload standpoint, like I put it on Facebook Marketplace. I answered a few messages. A woman out of Michigan called me. She bought it sight unseen and she PayPal'd me the money. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Isn't it funny though? Like you can get up into much higher numbers and it literally still works like
it does.
It doesn't like obviously large scale development stuff gets more complicated, but I don't think that people understand if you can do that first deal, you obviously didn't know it at the time. Like you can do a $200,000 deal right away. It's the same
100%.
thing. Maybe you take a few more pictures or get aerials or something, but that's the business.
That's the business. Once you know the mechanics, again, you can ratchet it up or down however you see fit. I mean, just yesterday, we listed a 300-acre, $1.2 million ranch out in Kentucky. So it's like same model, disposition, become a little smarter.
Yeah, better photos and maybe an agent involved here and there. But
So anyways, I mean, after that, it was just pedal to the metal, off to the races. I was working a sales job at the time, making a whopping $40,000 a year plus commission. So like that money was absolutely life-changing. The last thing I'll throw on this story though, which is so funny, and credit where credit's due, there was a woman named Dawn who worked at the county recorder's office in Nye County. Hopefully I don't get her in trouble. But I didn't know how to record a deed. I didn't even know how to draft a deed. I was like really figuring it out on the fly. Counties obviously aren't supposed to give legal advice, but I just pestered this woman, Dawn. How do I record a deed? We have to have this affidavit of value, and then we got to get a notary and got to send a cashier's check. And she was like, Sumner, here's my personal number. Call me when I leave work. And she walked me through the recording process.
That's awesome.
So without her, I wouldn't be here today, honestly.
Yeah, but also you probably showed that you were really upfront and trying to do it the right way. And with all my 50 years of experience dealing with municipalities, they just want you to do it the right way and respect them. Like that's what it is. And I think they want that. Then look what her help did.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Pretty incredible thing about it. I know. Thank you, Don, if you ever listen to this.
Yeah. Right. I mean, but that's what it takes. You have to show up prepared as much as you know, and also be open about the stuff that you don't know, so you don't get yourself in trouble and mess up your first deal, right? You want to make sure you're kind of tying the bow on it.
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah. So was it really I wonder now, and I'm sure you deal with people who get into, land and they're young and they're thinking, fire movement, I want to get out of this quick. But I think the way you thought, like I just doubled my money. It's not 1,200, but it's the fact that that's possible means if I do 5,000, I can get 10,000. And a lot of land people I've talked to, that their first deal is like that. It's like 250 to 500, 1,000 to 2,000, but then it's that light bulb. Do you think everybody looks at it this way, or do you encounter people who are think they're going to go from 1,027 to 28,000? That seems like kind of modern culture-ish to me.
It does. I think that the biggest thing that we see, unfortunately, and anyone that offers education has probably run into this. You get more than anything, beyond the return on a deal by deal basis, it's kind of the macro expectations on the business in general, which is I want to throw a Hail Mary. I want this to work in the next 90 days. And what I've learned with Lane is it's an interesting model, because if you're just getting started, I think the first 6 months are all about skill acquisition. It's like learning how to read a new language. It's really, and it's unlike any other real estate niche. I mean, there's not much so hard, to be honest.
Yeah.
And so you've got to spend 6 months learning, and then you've got to learn how to build a business around the skill, which is totally different. And so I just get a lot of, we see a lot of folks with just wild timeline expectations.
I think that's common across I've watched TikTok. Now want to be a house flipper, want to invest in Section 8. Hey, how can I make $100,000 in 2 months, but I have no money? It's that doesn't even follow logical financial principles.
Yeah. And what I would say too, beyond the percentage return on the deal, I think what really excited me, I don't think enough people think like this, in a direct response business where I'm sending marketing to a property owner to buy their deal, I care about just ROAS. What's the return on my ad spend? So I spent, with data and direct mail costs of sending a 2-page letter, I probably spent about 65 cents per owner that I contact.
Yeah.
So let's call it like $650 to get the 1,000 letters out. I didn't just get that one deal. I think I got 2 additional deals within like the next 60 days from that same campaign.
Yeah.
I'm like $600 in and a couple $1,000 out. That was the like, holy smokes moment.
That's another thing that you can calculate at scale though, and then think like, okay, well, if I double up my ad spend, like I'm getting better, your percentage ROI should increase the better that you get, more conversations you have, the more you understand the areas. It makes a big difference though if you do 2 deals in a town and then you're on your 14th deal where you said like, oh, I bought from Bobby Smith, and they're like, oh, I know Bobby, like, oh, ask him about me, right? That's the long-term thinking that really plays out well.
Yeah, starts to compound in your favor. I have this thing that I tell folks, which I call the 3-year rule. And I've seen it in my life. I've seen it in other people's life. I mean, albeit the sample size is small, but I think this really pertains to land as well. If you could just stick around for 3 years, like, dude, I want to say it's almost guaranteed, because at a certain point, once you acquire the skills and you have your own KPIs, like, what it takes to generate a deal, then it's just scaling the inputs. Then it's just a game of math.
Yeah.
And, usually after a year, you're nowhere near as far as you want to be. 2 years, you kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, like, this is working. And then 3 years, it all just compounds. You're like, whoa, that was exactly my journey. And then once you have the skill, it's just a game of inputs, like double the deals, double the marketing. It's a very linear business in that sense, which I like personally.
Yeah. And I think people need to know going in, it is a volume game, especially to get started. Like if you're not going from that, 1 to 2K to 100K to 3, you could, it's possible, but it's more likely you're going to do, like you said, get some deals for $100, lose on a couple ones that you mess up, but then all of a sudden you make 5,000 and you're like, oh, okay. You have to keep at it, but it's also something you don't have to do from 9 to 5. You could do it for like an hour a day and be successful. So you don't have to quit your job to start land flipping, right?
Yeah. No, 100%. I did it with a sales job. Like, I think it's about the frequency at which you show up and not necessarily like the day-to-day volume.
I agree.
Even an hour a day.
Yeah.
It compounds. I was doing this on my lunch break. I was doing it in the bathroom at work. I'm doing it nights and weekends. Like, you just have to make some sacrifices short term. I just don't know why more folks don't think like that. Like, it's such an obvious trade-off to me. But perhaps it's just, the day and age we live in, just short-term gratification,
I think you have to have had a sales job or at least be interested in doing that to be good at it, because you're going to get so many no's and like, why are you calling? But the one thing that I really like about land, and I'd love to hear what you think, especially when you were new, is a lot of times with land, you're really doing people a favor. They just own these junk plots that they don't even know they own. Literally 50% of the time, they don't remember they own it, or someone gave it to them. The taxes are like $20. They haven't paid them. Nobody foreclosed. They don't care. It can really help people. That's why you can trade and then trade up easily, because they're doing nothing with it and it's 14 states away. What do they need it for? It's like a gift.
No, totally. I always tell people, it's kind of like they're selling a bike they've ridden once at a garage sale. You know what I mean? Like,
it's been in there for 10 years in the garage.
Totally. And the funny thing is, I think in most other real estate models, like, you're looking for heavy distress. We find it here, but it's the minority of people that we deal with. It's just kind of forgotten about. And one thing that I'll say that I think kind of partially speaks to the opportunity with land that's unlike anything else is, one, it's a very illiquid asset, right? So us being able to provide liquidity and sell or buy it in 30 days is more appealing than even a house to some extent, because there's always so much liquidity for a house. The other thing with land that's interesting is it's so hard to price. Like, with a house, if your neighbor's house sells, like, you have a pretty good benchmark. Land's not like that at all. It's like all over the place, and it's very subjective. Most brokers don't know how to underwrite land. And so what happens is
almost none. To me, like, when people say like, oh, I know a lot about land. I'm like, I'll list land, but if I'm going to buy land somewhere, I want someone who all they do is land. And that's why I want to list it, because they have the lists of all the 100%. People who are going to buy. Yeah, it does make a big difference. And almost nobody knows.
I'll share a kind of a comping framework that we use that might be helpful for the listeners. But one thing just to tack onto that is, so it gets like, sellers get sandwiched in this weird situation where The agent typically misprices the property, so they park it way too high. Most agents don't know how to list land. It's different than listing a house.
Yeah.
I actually find a lot of agents don't even know how to use coordinates. So they can't even get to the property. They don't know how, like, there's no situs address, right?
Yeah.
So you'll see on Zillow, someone like took a picture on their iPhone of a GIS map and that's the listing. You're like,
Yeah.
oh my God. But what I see time and time again is that if agents have a house and a piece of land, what are they more likely to spend their time on? For sure, the house.
Yeah.
The percentage is lower as a commission, but they're going to make way more. It's easier to sell. It's easier for them to show it and find it. And so you get landowners that are underserved in terms of like,
oh yeah, especially that add-on land. They're almost like, oh, we'll just take the lot with it. Like, well, that's kind of throwing it away. Why are you throwing away a free lot? You could just clean it up. That's the thing. Like for a land trade, as you get better, very small input can make you so much money. Clearing it, just mowing the grass in some areas, making directional so it's a little bit easier to find. Huge benefits that can make you a lot of money, right?
No, spot on. A lot of folks think about value add like entitling or subdividing, but no, like truly, sometimes just clearing a lot that could, one, you're going to sell it a heck of a lot faster, but we've seen it tack on 30-40% of extra value to the deal.
Yeah.
Because the folks that we work with, it's not a B2B sale. Like we're dealing with true consumers. They need to see the vision. They need to pull up and immediately say, oh my God, this is the property I want. And so
exactly. I've always said, I think that people could, in almost any area, you could 5X just by taking aerial photos. Because nobody does that.
Yeah.
Like land is the worst represented asset on like just public markets. It's like you said, a picture of like a directional,
Totally.
or just one picture of some dirt. Like how's that helping me?
Totally.
Like what? Give me everything. Do aerial, show what it's near. Build the description in. I think it's an easy 5X, and you can do it all from your home.
Yep. I would actually make the case. The one thing that I'll toot my horn on, I would actually say in America, we might be the best shop at listing land. Like I've become obsessed with listing land. And so like I'm a big frameworks guy. I try to turn everything into a framework. So the model that I've learned with land, almost all of our deals are going through the MLS. We always have a broker attached. With the broker, all they do is they just show the property. That's all they plug into our system. They just show it. We do everything else. And so there's 3 levers we pull on. One is the cover image. And we've learned the cover image always has to be a drone photo. Yeah. And it always has to have lot outlines on it. I wish I could share my screen to show these, but
Riverside's not good at that. It always makes it,
They're beautiful. Maybe we can put one in the show notes or something like that. Yeah, for sure. They're like, the colors are popping and we're calling out, hey, like arrow to a cabin and here's they're just beautiful. Then from there, you have to think about the sequence of photos. So you might have 25 photos, but on like, let's say Zillow, it's only going to show the first 5 and then they have to go through. So those 5 photos have to tell the full story about the property. So it's 5 drone photos.
That's the same as a short-term rental though, to be honest. That short-term rental Airbnb shows that your top 5. And we're saying like, how come you have the view 19th?
Totally.
Same with land. You have a view. Why is it in the back? It makes no sense.
That's a great point, actually. I think there are a lot of parallels there. I have a short-term rental in Florida that I bought last year. And it's really the same thing. And then the description. So we don't write like heavy sales copy, but we try to answer all potential objections by giving the information they need. And then we always have a clear call to action, because with land, it goes, see it on Zillow, let's say, save the listing, reach out to the realtor, show the property, make an offer. Yeah. And so what we look for is on, let's say Zillow, but it's true on any MLS third-party platform, at least 50 to 100 views per day and a 10% save ratio. So if you have that, your listing is golden. It's good to go. And you'll probably move it in 60 days or less. Yeah. I mean, honestly, the margins wouldn't be as good as what we do, but you could probably make a business of just buying ugly listings on the MLS and then relisting good marketing.
For sure. I like what you said about the description, because obviously, I don't think you need to like sell the dream on what can be built there, because I don't know what the hell some people just want to build a race course or something like out in Nevada. But I think what you're saying is so smart. I try to do that as well. You just want to get all the objection answered so that when someone makes the call, you've already, they're not getting, they don't have to ask you questions. Yeah. So you're getting much better vetted leads that come through who want to see it, because it just says it in the public, perk tests done, all these things are done, oil tank sweeps done, like you're clear. And that stuff, you spend a little, you're going to gain so much more. Really, aerial photos, if you can't double your money in aerial photos, literally anywhere, I would be shocked. Just from that alone, because you're trying to make it more accessible for people to see more of it instead of just one photo.
Yeah. So we typically use drone pilots, and usually we pay $300, $500 to get the drone photos.
Yeah.
And high ROI, absolutely worth it. But actually inside the tool, like I won't reveal everything, but I built a software a couple of years ago called Land Insights. And inside that tool, we built out, I have a preliminary patent that's pending right now before we release it next month. But it's instantaneous drone photos. And all of our listings for the last, since the beginning of this year, let's call it 4 or 5 months, have been using this. And our average days on market, like liquidity's been a little soft over the last couple of years in the business. So our average days on market might be 70 to 80 days for 2025.
Yeah.
We're sub 30 days for all new acquisitions in 2026.
Yeah, that's crazy. For people who don't know land, that's extremely fast. I mean,
insane. Now, I like, it's worth covering. Part of the way that you get there, though, is market selection. Like land is interesting because you could work in any county in America, right? And buy land sight unseen. But the way I look at it is like the thing that you have to solve for is liquidity, because land it's easy to acquire, it's really hard to sell.
Yeah.
And so part of the reason that we have low days on market is we're just obsessed with picking the right markets.
Yeah. Well, so go through, what are you looking for? I mean, are you looking for developable? Are you looking for something that's near something else that's already been done? Or does it really depend on the market and some other demographics?
Yeah. So the first thing that I have people do is that you kind of have to choose your avatar in land. And this is like an oversimplification, but we think about land as being in 3 categories. We've got infill lots, half an acre and below in a city and a town. Then you've got rural infill. So it's usually outside of city limits, half an acre to 5 acres. Then you got rural rec land. Let's call it 5 acres to infinite acres. And so I think it's like, it really starts to tighten down your market selection when you create a constraint that says, I'm pursuing this kind of land. And oddly, like they're obviously those models overlap, but they are also different. The due diligence is different. Like, so I like to pick one lane and stick in it. So our lane is predominantly rural recreational land. I like that because I think it's relatively recession proof. Like people always want those assets. In fact, when the world gets scary, people kind of flock to those.
Yeah.
And it opens up multiple exit strategies for us. So we do a lot of subdividing, things like that.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. We create a constraint. When we talk about a market, we think about a county. So county equals market. And so when we look at counties across the US, there's 2 main things that I'm looking for. There's a lot more, but just to simplify it, 2 things. One, I look for supply levels. So we only look for counties that have between 25 and 250 active listings, kind of like the Goldilocks zone.
Yeah.
Too little on the active listing side usually means you're not going to have a ton of data to start comping once leads come in. And then too much inventory. Even if the market's hot, what I found is you'll put up your listing and then 4 days later, you're on the 3rd page of the MLS.
Right.
So it's
and people don't look at land every day. It's not like, you're getting pinged on that. Most people don't have that many alerts. Yeah.
Totally. So that's the first thing we solve for supply. And then a couple of years, I coined a concept inside of our community called sell-through rates. We call them STRs. Not short-term rentals, but so what we look at is, okay, you've got, let's say 100 active properties currently. And let's say you had 100 sales in the last year for vacant land. That would mean you have 100% sell-through rate, 100% of the inventory is turning over. So we look for at least 100% sell-through rate over the last 12 months. And then we look for that trend to be linear. We don't want big peaks and troughs. So it's 12, 6, 3,
You don't want to get caught in the valley. The peak only lasts so long. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Now, frankly, the 100% STR is the baseline. We find markets that 100% of the inventory turns over in 90 days. Like those are the cherry situations to find yourself in. And then we just ensure it has the kind of land that our business model says that we should be buying. One thing, actually 2 things to tack on to that though. We are mindful of seasonality. So seasonality does matter. I lost my train of thought on what the second one was. It'll come questions on that. The second will come back to mind.
Yeah. For the rec land, what if someone's buying it all and you're not subdividing it, like what are the types of uses that people are doing? I mean, like, are they building like racetracks and stuff, or are they trying to develop something else? Because really, again, it could depend on the state, county,
Yeah.
in terms of what's going on out there and what's needed, you know?
Yeah. It really runs the gamut. I mean, we see the craziest stuff. I would say on average, it's kind of your typical use case of like the idyllic recreational property where they want to build a cabin. They might want to hunt. It's pretty generic, but we get those edge cases where people are doing, crazy things on it.
Yeah.
One thing to mention too, which also informs our market selection, we found there's again a Goldilocks window of price that we want to play in. So we call it the mid-market range. And so the average deal that we're buying has a value of between 25,000 and 300,000, 250,000, somewhere in that range. So these aren't necessarily cheap properties.
Yeah.
When I was selling $5,000 10 acres in Arizona way back in the day, those use cases were bananas. I mean, we really get some strange people. Nowadays, they're usually a little more professional. They usually have like real plans they want to execute on, building a cabin or something of that sort.
Well, and real plans, better clients means better money, higher close rate. Those 5 to 10, they could just not show up at any time. It's just, again, it's like Facebook Marketplace. It's exactly what it is. Like, are they real?
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing with the cheap properties too, because the demographic you're dealing with usually isn't rolling in it. You pretty much have to sell those on owner financing terms. And so just to kind of go over like a zoomed out version of my journey in this business, I came in, I started with the super cheap flips. Then I moved over to trying to do bigger flips in 2020. I started in North Carolina. It was actually interesting. My first dance with bigger deals was buying a package, and I sold this package to a private equity firm. It was really weird.
Interesting.
But over 4 months, I acquired something like 15 deals in North Carolina, not from the same seller. And I literally raised the money from friends and family. Now, these were like buy for 10,000, sell for 20,000.
Yeah.
Every deal I had a private funder on, which was just disastrous. And then, we got this private equity firm that reached out and said, hey, we can see you hold all these properties. We want to buy all of them. And their model was to buy it from us, and they were going to try to resell it again. And, I actually looked a year ago, and some of those properties are still listed. Like, there was not much meat left on that bone.
That sounds like open door buying houses. It just doesn't make sense. Like, you've already done that, but hey, you want to buy it from me? No problem. I'll take your money.
I won't complain. I mean, they wrote us a check for like a little over $300,000. So it was, it was a big deal at the time. But that process, I was so cumbersome raising the money that after that, I was like, you know what? I'm going back to the small deals, but I'm going to build passive income. I'm going to go build a big owner finance portfolio. So this kind of rolled into 2021, but in 6 months, I sold over 200 properties on owner finance terms. It was insane. It's like breakneck pace. I hired my first employee at the time, and I built a note portfolio that was, it fluctuated because not everyone paid on time, but 20 to 35 grand a month in recurring income.
I mean, that's one of the kind of under talked about parts of acquiring land, because you do need to sell them a lot, but you can create great passive income. It can become a big pain, which maybe you're about to say, but it's interesting that there's these different parts where people are thinking, oh, land flipping. No, there's a lot of different things you can do inside of it that can make money, but you have to figure out for yourself what works.
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about land. There's so many ways to skin the cat. There's so many ways to make money in the game. I would argue that there's nothing passive about the owner finance portfolio, and I learned that pretty quickly. It is very active. And so to kind of put a cap on the story, I ended up moving back to the bigger mid-market deals, and that's what we do exclusively.
Hey, it's Jonathan. I hope you're enjoying this land episode with Sumner Healey. And if you go to the show notes, there's 4 different links for you. You've got your free 0 to Hero course there. You have your free trial to check out Leah. You also have your option to set up a free Land Insights account, which that thing looks bananas. And then you have the Land Insights free demo call link. So if you're down with what Sumner's saying, go to the show notes, use the link. Let's get back to the back half of this show.
But nowadays, pretty much any property that we take title to, we do put it with owner financing terms. So we're not scared to take a note.
Yeah.
But now
You're taking a better note.
Totally.
Yeah.
We're more choosy. We're more choosy with the people that we're actually giving lending to. We use a deed of trust now. Back in the day, we didn't.
Yeah.
So they actually get their name on title, they pay the taxes, et cetera. And we're getting a much larger down payment. So we're getting like 20, 25% down. These previous deals, it's unbelievable. I was taking payments of $1 down, $99 down. And so your default rate is
you
just
realize
vicious.
later it doesn't make a difference if they don't pay.
Yeah.
Like when you have $1 down. That's why you can really solve it though. It works for both parties though when you take a good down payment on seller finance. Like I've been buying on seller finance in my life. I've sold properties on seller finance. I think once you understand it, you can trade in it very well because it makes sense and it's always a win-win. You're just kind of pulling the levers on each side until you get to something that you agree on, right?
Yeah, no, totally. And now we actually, we also acquire on terms nowadays, which we didn't do back then. But yeah, once we get these notes, because we're taking them down, deed of trust, good property, good terms, good down payment, now we have the option to liquidate that note and we can sell it or we can keep it. And so we're a little more choosy now what we keep. But it
Who's the
makes that,
buyer for those notes though?
yeah, so there's been in the last couple of years more and more capital coming into the land space, both for joint venture funding, hard money lending, and now there's no buyers.
Yeah.
So
That's
the returns are great for them. You know, if you factor in the down payment that you collect, let's say it's 20%, you'll probably keep 70 to 80% of the note's value. And so, yeah, they are picky on what they want to take. They scrutinize the deal pretty heavily.
Yeah.
But now there's liquidity to get rid of them, which really did not exist when I got started. That was not a thing.
Yeah, I mean, already we've gone through so many different scenarios, how you can make money, how you can sell out, which it does sound, I think, more liquid than people would think, but I still wouldn't call it, as you were saying before, it's not as liquid an asset as a house, which people can go live in, especially if you don't do anything to it. If you don't upgrade it in some way, description, photos, or follow what you said, those 3 steps, could you get lucky? Sure, but that's not really the point. You're not going to get good at flipping land by doing nothing to it and, winning once.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things that people forget is like part of how we create liquidity, even on bigger deals, is we're always passing off a discount to the next party. So we never actually get full retail value.
I think that's really smart.
Yeah. Or they think they're discounting the listing, but they've underwritten it incorrectly. And so we see that all the time. I mean, we talk to people that are like, hey, I've been doing this for 6 months. I've got 10 properties, but I haven't collected anything yet. And we go look at them and they're mispriced. The property's in a terrible market, bad listing. So to kind of loop back on the side of things, I think this will be valuable for folks. Less is more when it comes to underwriting land. I think about quality over quantity for how many comps we actually look at.
Yeah.
The kind of like cardinal sin people make is they say, okay, I've got a 5 acre. I'll look at the 5 acre comps for the whole county and average them together.
Right. Don't consider the 3 of them have like hills all over them and going into a cliff. Sure.
Yeah. So what we need is like a weighted matrix to say this comp is more relevant than this comp. And so the way that we do it is goes proximity, features, recency. So proximity is the most important. Obviously, real estate's local. We buy these properties sight unseen. So there's things that we don't know, like this is a bad street, this is a good street. And that stuff obviously still matters for land.
Yeah.
So we look for initially proximity. That could be the adjacent comp or same street as close as possible. So we sort by proximity. Then we look for overlapping features, topography, access, utility, like that. And then recency. But we're willing to sacrifice recency to get proximity and then ultimately get features. And at the end of the day, to underwrite a piece of land, we're usually using like 3 to 4 comps at most.
That sounds like a lot to me, honestly.
Well, I mean, yes and no. Yes and no. I will say in some situations, we can't find anything that really meets those rules. And that's where it gets tough. Like there's just like nothing to point to. And then at that point, what we'll do is we'll go on market. We'll do like actively listed. We'll do that same search that I mentioned, and we'll take the list price and say it's probably going to sell at 75% of what it's listed at.
Yeah.
We can back of napkin math that. Worst case, we'll get a broker involved. But that is like the last attempt to get the property underwritten.
Yeah. One thing you just said that I think is important for people to remember, people maybe are used to, looking on Google Maps and regular neighborhoods and you can see stuff. When you're doing land, especially in rural areas, there's no photos on Google Maps. It's just a map. Like you can't go look up plot, the directions and then just find a perfect picture of the dirt. So you don't have as much access as you think when you're buying land. A lot of it is freewheeling what you know, going on other sites like Land Glide and just seeing how much you can see. So it, is it risky? I mean, real estate all has its risks, but like, as you're saying, the better that you get at it and the more volume you have, it's okay to take a few risks because you're going to get a couple home runs here and a lot of base hits in the middle that help work it as you, if only you run it like a business, right? That's where I think a lot of people fail in all parts of real estate. They're clearly part-timing it. They're not trying to treat it like a business to grow.
Yeah. I don't know why people don't think about running a real estate operation as being the same thing as running a business. Like, I don't know why they don't connect. They think that somehow this is separate and special. And the general principles of running a business ultimately apply here one to one. And I think that's kind of one of the things that over the last couple of years we've really started educating on, is because there was such a mismatch in this space. Like, people were talking about, here's the principles of land, the theory of the 30,000 foot view, more skill based, but there was no content around, okay, you get to $250,000 in your land business. The constraint is now labor. And how do you organize a team? How do you create leverage in a land business? And that's like the area over the last couple of years that has been like my biggest occupation, I guess you could say. And I've learned that there is a framework that's applicable to all land operations of who you hire, when you hire them, how you hire them. And again, at about that $250,000 mark, most people are going to cap out as a one-man band. And then it's a people game.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just too much. And you're going to start losing deals and messing things up that you shouldn't.
Totally.
But I also agree. I think if you're coming from another business, it's not as straightforward just to figure out how to scale a land business. Like there's not a lot of like books to figure out, like, hire X and hire this. That's why it obviously is helping people that you can put in and have a framework that makes sense in terms of when to do stuff. Like, there's lots of books on flipping houses, although the numbers may be wrong. Pretty clear what you're supposed to do. You have to get somebody to do the work to flip it. That's not hard, but land is different. It may not be as clear as to what you're doing, who you need help from.
Totally. I know really what my kind of goal has been on the education side is, like, can I take this heavy theory-based business and turn it into something that's sequential, systematic, like a business in a box almost?
Yeah.
And not saying that makes it easy. It's still extremely difficult. But that's been my big focus, and some of that relates to the team building side of the things. But some of it just looks at, like, how can we build frameworks and systems for every part of this? Because when I got started, man, and the business was so different. One, there was no outside capital. So, like, you were self-funding everything. But also, it was all, like, again, 30,000 foot view, kind of more theoretical. It was find a rural county. Hopefully there's other land investors there. That was kind of the gateway of what folks were telling you. And send mail and just cross your fingers that you get deals back. And the crazy thing is, it actually worked.
Yeah.
Back then, the model was so unsophisticated that you could do everything wrong and still get deals. And we've seen this crazy kind of reckoning over the last couple of years where there's actually been a mass exodus of people leaving the business. I would make the argument there's more people that have left than have come in the last, like, 2 to 3 years.
Yeah. To me, that sounds like an opportunity, because
100%.
Yeah.
I've never been more excited about the land business. Like, we last year just right under doubled our business, and that was my 6th year in the business. Like, I still just see so much opportunity.
Yeah.
But there was a reckoning because people just built such bad habits during the easy times,
I think you can take that and put it across all of real estate. Look at multifamily. I mean, great. You were doing great when you could get a property for 3%, but now your loans due and the cash out values 8%. So you're screwed. I agree. I think people, they do well in the easy times, and they because they don't set up a system that's going to work for them, they're just thinking it's going to stay like that forever. And that's not the way markets work.
No, totally. And this is a market still somewhat in its infancy relative to those, wholesaling, fix and flipping, things like that. So we're seeing it go through this maturation process, and some people just weren't willing to stick around. Then you pair that with a weird economy and lack of liquidity, and most people just, they couldn't hack it together. But my thing is, man, if you can make it in the bad times, boy, are you going to crush in the good times. Like,
yeah,
and that's how real
definitely.
estate works, right? It is cyclical. You just got to weather the storms when it sucks and stay in the game long enough to win big when it's really easy, you know?
Yeah. For people,
Yeah.
all the people that you've seen come into the business, that you've helped, what are some personality traits that you think someone needs to
Mm.
be successful in this? Because I've always found that self-awareness is really like
Yep.
the unlock for knowing which parts of real estate to go into. Like,
Mm.
I don't like being a landlord, so I own multifamily as a limited partner because I don't
Yeah.
want to deal with them. It's annoying and uncomfortable. But
Yeah.
like, what
Yeah.
traits does someone need to be good at getting into land and flipping and
Totally.
then the other things?
Yeah. Great question. Before I get into like the personality and the skill set, what
Yeah.
I'll say is like the archetype of who we work with is pretty interesting. So I started the coaching thing in September of 2022.
Mhm.
We've eclipsed 650 some odd people since then. And
Wow.
they all
Yeah.
kind of fall into a very similar bucket. It's high earning W-2. We get a lot of like software engineers and engineers in general, or
That makes
uh,
sense to me because
yeah,
they want the system. And if they can, I think they
totally.
can execute the system really well.
Totally.
Yeah.
And I think because we're so systematic, maybe it's
Yeah.
kind of self-selecting. We get those
Yeah.
kinds of folks.
Yeah.
We get like high-level salespeople. Some of those are W-2, some of those like 1099, like solar bros and door knockers and things like that. And
They
then we
can
get,
crush too for a
oh
completely
yeah,
different reason. Yeah. Cause
totally,
they're gonna max out all the local deals. Everyone's going to love them.
totally. And I'll tie it together because the personalities overlap perfectly with these archetypes.
Yeah.
Then the second one is like the real estate person, the wholesaler, fix and flipper. Oddly, I would think that would be our majority. It's actually not. It is our minority, but it is clearly there. And then the third person is greener pastures, like they're business owners. They're doing whatever e-com, fill in the blank, and
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
looking for greener pastures. They move into land. Now, in terms of the personality types, it is actually there's two sides of the coin that still works perfectly, but they're distinctly different.
Yeah.
On one side of the coin, you get the more analytical engineering brain. I
Yep.
want it black and white, binary type thinkers. They can still be successful. We just have to prepare them a little bit different. And then on the other side, you get the cowboys and the cowgirls. So the loose
Yeah.
cannons. They can talk to anyone. They can put a deal together, but their business is a mess.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
I can
both
see it
work.
so clearly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But you've got to be on one of those sides. We
Yeah.
can't be in the and so, whatever side of the coin you're on, we just have to prepare you slightly differently to anticipate the roadblocks you're going to run into. But both work. Both work.
Yeah, it makes a
Yeah.
lot of sense because I can see the analytical brain just doing more doubles and triples. They don't really need the home run because it comes with more risk. And then that high D personality is just they're gonna make 250 on one, then they're gonna completely crash out. They're basically like a startup investor,
Totally.
and everyone loves them and then hates them. It's
Yeah.
like it's the
It's
peak and
spot
valley
on.
that we don't want.
Yeah. We had this guy a couple of years ago. Actually, he was one of the first people that joined our program, and really interesting character. His name was Cole. Love the guy. He's awesome. But he was like driving around in his van planting fruit trees across America. He's like very passionate about horticulture or whatever it is. And like gift of gab, super funny, super charismatic. And his first deal in the business was like a 300K spread subdivide deal. And I mean, the guy was not a business owner, like definitely, a little scatterbrained in other areas.
Yeah.
But same thing, crash and burn, after a year and a half, there was just a lack of consistency with operations that it started to fall apart. But in terms of a first deal, goodness, I mean, that's monster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see that happening. I think you've laid out all the scenarios because I think it's important for people to look at their personality and see, like, especially if they're that personality, the last one that we talked about, highs and lows, like you can plan for it now if you're going to do it. Like, what you're up against. You have to make sure that you put some things in place a little bit earlier so you don't get out over your skis and then hate it when you're doing well. I mean, it's the worst thing to be really good at something and then get too good and you can't keep up because you don't know how to hire.
Yeah. That was me for a long time. I did not know how to build a team. That was like my biggest constraint. But once we solved it, then that was our biggest win. But what I'll say too, on the personality type side of things, I actually would argue that the more analytical folks, They have I think they can weather the storm. They can stick around. They usually make it longer, but boy, do they have such a hard time getting started. And I'll just say this for anyone that listens to this and moves forward with their land career. At the end of the day, like, part of the reason there is arbitrage in this business is because there's a level of uncertainty, and we do deal with incomplete information.
Yeah.
And I find that these analytical folks, no matter how much we systematize the business, you still have to deal with limited information. So they can get stuck in this forever paralysis analysis purgatory, and so for anyone that listens to this and takes it upon themselves to do a land deal, understand that we do deal with incomplete information. There's going to be deals where you have no comps and you have to back a napkin math it. And you think about, well, I'm buying it at this discount, so I'm underwriting risk first. The upside might be slightly unknown. And if that happens to you, you're doing nothing wrong. That just comes to the territory.
Yeah.
And the flip side is that's partially why there's opportunity here,
Yeah, but I think like going through that scenario, I think for that personality type, land is providing an opportunity because the entry buy-in can be lower. So it's like, maybe you're wringing your hands, but listen, dude, it's only $4,200, or $1,300. Like just pull the trigger. You're not talking about like, you're doing a house flip and you have to pay $375 and you're going to put in 120 and you have a mortgage. Like, you can start really small. So at least, because really, to be honest with them, if you're listening and you can't pull the trigger on 1,200, it's not for you. Do something else. Don't go into other parts of real estate, because this is like the bare bones of cost that you can get in. And that's where, I mean, hopefully it's fun for people. I mean, I think like you seem to have fun with it. I think that when everybody finds the thing that works, then it's like, I'm just going to be obsessed. And I think people should just be constantly looking for that. But say you do it for a year and it doesn't work out, take those skills and put them into something else that you're more passionate about.
Yeah. No, it's a really good point. Like, I think, and this goes back to what you're saying with self-awareness, don't do land because it looks cool on paper. Do it because you find it fun. Like, I'm a deal junkie, man. Like, we'll do, 120 deals this year. I love the velocity of doing a lot of deals. Like, it's just fun for me.
Yeah. And
I think if you can play games that look hard to other people, but feel easy to you, like, that's a recipe for success. So don't do land because the numbers sound sexy. Do it because it's actually fun. And you might have to dip your toe in the pond and find out. One of the other things too about land, actually, first, before I talk about that, I'll talk about a way that people can acquire deals with almost no money out of pocket. But what I'll say about land that I think is interesting is I talked about how we're just underwriting risk, because we know for damn sure if we're buying at a price that we're likely to lose money at. Like, we can kind of ballpark that.
Yeah.
The exact decimal point we're going to sell at, we don't ever really know that. But the deals that we're buying, dude, are typically like at 1990 vintage prices. Like, they're at a price that would be so catastrophic for the real estate market to pull back to that level.
Right.
So like, your downside is really protected. I think I've had since 2019, I can't even remember. I think I've had 3 deals that I've not even taken an L on. I think just broken even. Maybe I've had 1 lost out of 700 deals. And it was like,
and you probably knew like, this one could lose.
Oh,
but like, you always,
yeah. And you know what? It all came back to ignoring clear due diligence signal.
Yeah.
And you're like, you feel hot. Like, well, we've been so good recently. Let's just buy. Yeah, always a bad idea. But one of the ways that folks can dip their toe in the pond with even less risk on the table, something like 40% of every deal that we do, and it swings month to month, but on average, let's call it 40%, are deals where we're not even taking title to the property. So you can think about it like a double close or something of that sort. And so we control the property with earnest money. All right. So we tie up the contract. We are very forthright with the seller. Don't you dare do this and not specifically disclose. I mean, we are to a fault honest about this stuff. Hey, we have a realtor. They're going to show the property. Sometimes the realtor even meets the seller at the property.
Yeah.
If we make money on above the price we're paying you, is that a problem for you? Like, we're very clear with it.
Right. You're going to get X. We may get X times 5. Do you care? You're usually going to hear, I'm not doing anything with it. If I get X, I'll take X.
Totally. And when we pay them, it's a non-refundable earnest money deposit. So worst case, you keep our money.
Yeah. That's nice. Yeah.
Yeah. But the crazy thing is, we've controlled $100,000 properties with $500. You know what I mean? And so that's a way to dip your toe in the pond, really mitigate risk. Again, you have to be on your P's and Q's. I think you have to be very good at communicating. and you can't waste the seller's time. I don't know if I would make the case for beginners to start there.
Yeah,
because if
I
you don't
agree.
know how to move property and you tie it up for 90 days and you waste the seller's time, I think
I mean, that's like a bad house wholesaler. They don't know what they're doing. They buy it for 33,000 more than it's actually worth, and then they get no showings, and they can't get they're trying to also get a 25K spread, and you're like,
yeah,
I wouldn't even pay that. Or like wholesalers who buy off the MLS. It's like, huh?
Oh, that's my favorite.
Well, I mean, like, why you're going to buy something off the MLS that all of us could have bought, then you're going to resell it for more? That doesn't make any sense. And never do anything. No improvements of any kind.
Of course. I know I get a lot of deals sent to me for like funding or partnership or whatever.
Yeah.
And we'll get deals. I'm like, you sent me an MLS listing. I could go find this on Zillow myself. Right. And you want 50% of the deal? What's the expectation?
Like, I don't need you. I can just go right past you.
Yeah. But to kind of go back to beginners getting started, whether it's a double close or it's a bigger deal or it's a smaller deal, whatever, just get past that first deal hump, get that proof of concept.
Yeah.
And from there, you're off to the races. The first deal you might make $100 on, who cares? I just think getting over that hump and going full cycle on a deal is such a confidence builder. So small deal, big deal, double close, whatever. I mean, take it on, get past that first deal. If you double close, please make sure you're on your P's and Q's.
Yeah.
The other cool thing too is, like I was saying before, there's been such an influx of capital into the land space. So inside of LEA, we've got joint venture funders that fund all of our members' deals. And so you don't even need a double close. If you find a cherry deal, there's money waiting for you to fund that deal.
Yeah, that's cool.
And you're taking on no risk. It's not debt. They're going to get 20 to 50% of the spread, depending on how long it takes to sell. And the deal's your resume. If you've got a great deal, that's all they care about.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I mean, that makes sense. I just thought of this before we get to that. I wanted to get to the challenge that you had, but I just thought of this. I think like if someone's new, what do you think of this? Like at my brokerage, we have a contacts challenge. Like for new agents, we tell them like literally just tell everybody in your contacts that you're an agent. This is what you're doing, like nicely. But I could see you going through like every person that you know well and saying like, hey, do you or anyone you know just like own a random piece of land that you don't want? Can I try to sell it for you? I think that would work.
Yeah, no, I think it would work. If you've got a big enough Rolodex,
but you could like arbitrage that. It's no skin off their back. Like you could even share the profits with them. Yeah. And then it's like, that you could get a proof of concept like without mailing, 1,000 mailers probably if you're just kind of crafty about it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we've actually had people in our community that have done that. Like they partner with a family member essentially.
Yeah, it's great.
And, they might only get 20% of the spread or whatever, but it's a win-win.
Yeah.
Speaking of beginners and getting their first deal, I'll put this out there. It's not what I teach. It's not my strategy, but you can find arbitrage on the MLS. If you make 100 offers a day at 40, 50, 60 cents on the dollar, fast forward 30, 45 days from now, you will have a deal. We've had people make figures doing that,
Yeah, land is wildly overpriced on the MLS.
Totally. It's actually, it's pretty crazy. Years ago in Colorado, I bought a deal. I sent a piece of mail to the property owner. I didn't realize it was also listed at the same time. And they had it listed for $120,000 in Pagosa Springs, I believe. It's in a little subdivision out there. And they took my offer of $12,000. And that was... I kid you not.
You're like, what?
Yeah, I know. I was like, what? And
it's a nuclear waste zone or something? I mean,
no, there was that was real distress. I think there was medical bills or something of that. But I think that the realtor was responsible for really screwing them because we sold the deal at like $35,000.
Yeah.
So the realtor 4x price and wasted their time when they needed to sell it. It was just unbelievable.
They could have done much better. But before we hop off, I wanted to get to, you did a challenge with a house flipper. That's what you wanted to get to at the end. And then we'll get to where everyone can find you.
Totally. Actually, if you don't mind, can I tack on? I want to tack on one more thing for beginners. So I've tried, I would argue, every marketing channel, PPC, cold calling, texting, RVMs, all of it. And really like who we work with, like the group that I'm kind of obsessed with are the beginners. I just think that like as a percentage improvement in their life, you can just have way more impact.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot about not what's the best marketing channel overall. You can make a case for all of them. They all work, but what's the best marketing channel for beginners? And I've broken it down to 2 channels, and I'll just share this with the audience.
Yeah.
The first channel is obviously direct mail. We do something that's called blind offers. It's pretty common in the space.
Yeah.
2-page letter, purchase
I
agreement.
love direct
offer.
mail for land. It seemed like it matches the perfect like kind of recipient.
Totally. And yeah, it's based off of age for sure.
Yeah.
I also just think inherently something physical builds more trust. So we find that they're easier conversations to have. The rub with that is it is expensive nowadays. Inflation's really jacked up mailing costs. So, I think we mail at 55 cents, but we have bought huge quantities of mails. We locked in a lower price.
Yeah.
You're probably at 60, 65 cents, then you've got data costs.
Yeah, that is hefty to start
It's
with.
hefty. Yeah, and it's hefty. And you're looking at inside of Leo, we see 2,500 letters to at worst maybe 4,000 letters per deal. So you're outlaying a couple $1,000 to get a deal.
Yeah.
Now, when direct mail is done right, you're looking at like a 7 to 15x ROAS. It's pretty strong.
Yeah.
We have people that even got as high as 30, which is pretty unbelievable.
Yeah.
And the thing I like about direct mail is it's proactive work. So if you have a job and you have some money, I would start with direct mail because you can build out those offers nights, weekends, whenever you have time. And then you get way lower quantity of leads, but high quality. And they're much easier conversations. Now, if you're on the flip side, which is this is where most people probably are, you don't have a ton of money. The next best option is actually cold calling. And we break down cold calling in 3 ways. 1, you can cold call yourself. 2, you can build your own cold call team. 3, you can use an agency. Agency being my least favorite.
Well, you're losing cost on it. I mean,
totally. And I've used agencies, and the way that they do it versus how we do it in-house is very different. I'll share how we do it.
Yeah.
So kind of our theory with cold calling is depth, not like width. Like we go very deep. So we'll have very long conversations with people, but we might only make 5,000 dials per month per call.
I completely agree with that. That's how I think of any type of calling. I think stay on the phone. Zillow used to tell us like, make the appointment, get off the phone. And I would tell my agents like, stay on the phone as long as possible.
Totally. Yeah. One of the best indications of pre-qualification is just talk time.
Yeah.
Do we have a long talk time? Are they engaging? Now, what we do different opposed to these agencies is actually on that call, if they're qualified, we'll make a range offer on that call. So we're price qualifying these sellers.
Yeah.
So when we do that, cold calling is the second highest form of trust-based marketing relative to direct mail. And I would say it's like the second easiest acquisition sales call type lead that you can have. And cold calling, the returns are bananas. We have something like a 30x ROAS on cold calling, which is bonkers.
Well, if you go back to what we were saying originally about who owns land and what they're doing with it, you're going to get much less FU responses when you call on land because people don't even know they have it or you're doing them a favor. When you're calling on their house and they're in foreclosure, they're going to tell you to screw off. Like this is not. You're not going up against as big a wall with land calls.
I would agree. I know. People like complain, of course, like, the seller chewed me out or whatever. I'm like, you have no idea how bad it actually can be. Like, it's pretty easy.
Yeah. Call a probate list and for houses and see how that goes. Yeah.
Yeah. That'll give you good context on how good we got it. But if you're starting and you have some time and little money, literally just pick up the phone yourself and start calling. So in 2021, I started doing that. I just started making my own cold calls. I did maybe 50, 100 dials a day, somewhere in that territory. And after 30 days, I had 2 contracts in Joshua Tree, California, made 20 grand on it. And I was just calling from my personal phone, which I wouldn't recommend.
Yeah.
So if you're getting started and you have little money and you have some time, fantastic. Now, if you're getting started and you're limited on time, but you've got some sales experience, I would recommend building an in-house cold calling team. So the math on that, one overseas cold caller, we primarily hire out of Egypt. You're looking at $750 to $1,200 a month base salary. If you're following our approach, it'll be about 5,000 dials a month. You'll get about 35, 45 leads and about 1 deal per month. And the average deal is about $35,000 from cold calling. Anyone can get started with those 2 models. I don't recommend texting or cold emailing or any of the other stuff. Just start with those 2.
Yeah, I think texting's a hard no for pretty much anything acquisition. It's just so off-putting for everybody right now. Like we're all unsubscribing 100 million times a day. Like I don't know why somebody thinks I need an $8 an hour job like 5 times a day. I'm not sure. Awesome. So tell us about the challenge that you did with the house flippers.
Yeah. So when was this? This was 2023. I had a guy named Dennis Yasko who joined Leah. He was actually the head sales trainer for Pace Morby's Sub 2 group.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was doing creative finance wholesaling for years, and he was like, "Hey, I want to get started in lands." He joined Leah, and he's really good at sales. He reached out to me. He's like, "Hey, man, like we should do this course together, and then you'll just coach me for 90 days, and we'll split the profits 50-50." And I was like, "Okay, no on the 50-50, but I will I will coach you for 90 days. We'll build out a case study." So he had a partner in business named Rob. So there was kind of like integrator visionary dynamic with them.
Yeah.
And so, for 90 days, every single week, we met once a week, sometimes twice a week, but mostly once a week. And we built an over the shoulder program. So every word I said to them was documented over those 90 days.
Cool.
And the constraint was we're going to start with $10,000. And so we plowed that into direct mail and then, of course, software stack and the tools that they needed. Most of it went to marketing, though. I forget the actual deal quantity. I want to say it was like 7 contracts by the end of the 90 days. But what I do remember is those 7 contracts translated to $270,000 of gross profit on those deals.
So the snowball went from 10 to 270.
Yeah. But clarification, we didn't collect that 270 in 90 days because we get the contract, then we have to wait another 90, 120 days to sell it. So it's collected, long tail. We did sell one deal in that window. So we did collect some cash on that one deal. And the crazy thing is fast forward next year, 7-figure land business. They actually just landed a 7-figure deal. It's a 1,200 acre subdivide in North Carolina. They're chopping it up into like 10s and 40 acre lots. They're buying it for 1.8 and looking to dispo at $3 million. So like they've just gone on to do huge things.
Yeah.
And so what's cool is this program, again, I think it's like the only case study based program where it's like literally showing the results. Like all of the recorded calls I made to sellers, those are all in there. Everything's in there. All the templates we use. Now this program is funny. Like this was always kind of our beginner program, and we've sold it at so many different prices. It was 2,000 at first, then it was 1,500, then it was 800, then it was back to 1,000. But now we have it as like just a low ticket entry level program. But what I put together for all of the listeners, and we'll share the link, you guys can get it for free. So at the checkout, you just go to the checkout page. There's a coupon code that you plug in. You just put in podcast. You'll get it for free. And we'll put the link in the show notes. It's landinvestor.co/0 to hero. But we'll share that. The other thing too, kind of like my main bread and butter on the coaching side is a group called Leah. And at the beginning of this year, we made a huge shift. We moved it from a 5-figure a year program to a simple monthly subscription. So like you can join whenever you want, you can leave whenever you want.
Yeah.
My goal is to install our land business and 1,000 operators businesses this year. So I just couldn't do that in the previous program.
Yeah. Well, doesn't that help you weed people out who just aren't going to be good in the community anyway? Like they're kind of short-term thinking. They just weed themselves out, quit right away.
It's so interesting. Yeah. Especially because it's a lower price. Like you do see people that just don't take it serious because it's cheap themselves out. But what we just put in place with that is a 7-day free trial. You don't have to pay. You can come do it. You can come get on a coaching call with me. I'm in there every day. I answer dozens or hundreds of messages a day with video response. Like it's my baby. I'm all in on it. And we literally just took my exact business model and sequentially broke it down. And so every week there's an action plan and a step that you follow. And we create kind of like a choose your own adventure inside the program. You can go the direct mail route or you can go the cold call route.
Yeah.
And so it teaches both paths. And I spent the last 6 months in 2025 building this out. It's my pride and joy. It's my baby. And I'm really proud of it, honestly. So anyways, if you guys want to try that, we'll put the link somewhere.
Yeah. And so the best 2 sites for first, landinvestor.co. That's where they can find the code that we're going to give and the course. And then also landinsights.co.
Yeah. So I'll clarify too. I got something kind of nifty for the group on the Land Insights side. But so, there's landinvestor.co. They can find the course on there. There's our school community. That's just school.com/Leah/about. And you guys can get a free trial. And then in 2023, I launched a software company with 2 co-founders. It is essentially an operating system for every part of the business. You use it for selecting your markets. Everything's broken down, county, zip code, pricing for every piece of land in every market's broken down there. Exporting data, pricing offers, comping deals, pulling realtors. We have a giant realtor database. We have a disposition platform. Like it literally does every piece of the business.
Yeah.
And last year we just launched a free platform, so you guys can get access to it for free. It's just
Awesome.
landinsights.co/light. No subscription, nothing like that. You guys can get access for free. And of course, there's other tiers, but you can start for free. And my recommendation, like the biggest constraint if you're just getting started, is mapping and running due diligence on properties.
Yeah.
So start there. Like every due diligence overlay you need is in the platform for free.
Yeah, I can see that being a hold up for people. So that seems super helpful.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. I think we pretty much broke down everything. I really appreciate it. Appreciate you getting up at 6 a.m. to meet my 6 p.m. Eastern time. So it was a pleasure talking to you. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, likewise, man. And the funny thing is, I think I just scratched the surface, maybe 1% of how deep I can go on this
I'll
stuff.
have you back. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. If people like this, maybe drop a comment or give it a thumbs up or whatever. And if we get enough, maybe we'll do a part 2. Make it even more technical. There's a lot.
Like go to the granular for the granular folks.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Jonathan. Appreciate it. Bye.
All right. That was Sumner Healey. He is the founder of Land Insights and LEA, which is land. Oh, wait. I was just doing it before. It's land.
So landinvestor.co. That's the coach. Land Insights.
But wait, what's LEA? Accelerator.
Yeah. LEA is just a product underneath landinvestor.co. So for landinvestor.co.
I took the window off. So I was like, oh, it just went away. Yeah.
Okay. You want to do it again?
They know where to find you, and find that link so you can watch the case study. Really appreciate it. I'm Jonathan Greene. We'll see you next episode.
Thanks for sticking around to the end so you can get a preview of what's coming up on episode 341 of Zen and the Art of Real Estate Investing. Everything you really need to know about real estate is local. It's a solo show. I'm going to go all through locality versus what you see on the national news. Of course, this will apply more to people who are looking to do smaller investments, but I would argue that local and the granular nature of how you research markets is what is going to get you the best buy prices and push you far ahead in the future. I'll see you next episode for that solo.